When people hear about a woman with no friends, the first reaction is usually judgment, pity, or confusion. But what if it's not what it looks like? What if being a woman with no friends is not a weakness, but a sign of strength, clarity, and self-respect? Today, we're breaking down what it really means and why it matters. A woman with no friends is often misunderstood because the world is quick to assume that being alone must mean being lonely, but that is rarely the case. She is not lonely. She is selective. She understands that not every person who enters her life deserves a permanent place. She has seen enough faces wear smiles that were not sincere, and enough hands reach out with intentions that were not pure. She has felt what it means to be surrounded by people who drain her energy, and she has learned to walk away from that trap. She knows the difference between company and connection. She knows the difference between presence and purpose, and she would rather choose silence over noise, because silence does not betray her. Silence does not gossip about her. Silence does not make her question her worth. She has chosen to preserve her peace rather than dilute it with relationships that bring her nothing but confusion and chaos. She values herself in ways that many cannot understand. She sees the cost of keeping everyone close, and she has decided that her peace is priceless. She does not fear being by herself, because being by herself is where she has found clarity. Being by herself is where she has learned who she truly is. She recognizes that people often mistake a crowd for confidence, but confidence is not about numbers. Confidence is about knowing your value even when no one else is there to affirm it. She has walked away from shallow friendships because she refuses to live a shallow life. She knows that popularity is not proof of happiness, and that approval from others can never replace approval from herself. This woman understands that strength is often quiet. It does not need to announce itself. It shows in the choices she makes every day, and one of those choices is refusing to entertain relationships that leave her empty. She would rather sit alone in a cafe with her thoughts than sit at a crowded table with people who secretly compete with her or talk behind her back. She knows that being surrounded by many does not mean being supported by any. She has seen how fragile some connections can be, and she no longer invests her time in what will not grow. She invests her time in herself, in her peace, in her growth. Her solitude is not a punishment. It is a decision. It is the way she protects her mind and her heart. It is the way she honors her boundaries. She has decided that she does not need to fit in just to feel valuable. She does not need to constantly be invited just to feel included. She does not need to always be seen to prove that she exists. She has freed herself from the pressure of proving anything, and in that freedom, she has found power. She has discovered that there is beauty in walking alone, because when you walk alone, you hear your own steps, you hear your own voice, and you learn to trust your own path. A woman with no friends is often judged by those who cannot imagine being comfortable with themselves because they are afraid of their own silence. But she is not. She welcomes it because silence is where she hears truth. Silence is where she hears strength. Silence is where she hears herself, and she knows that as long as she can hear herself, she will never be truly alone, because she has built a bond with her own soul that cannot be broken. She understands that relationships are important, but not at the expense of her well-being. She knows that friends can be blessings, but only when they are real. She has no desire to collect people for show. She only desires to surround herself with authenticity, and until that comes, she is content in her own company. She has learned the power of solitude, and she does not see it as something to escape from, but as something to embrace, because solitude sharpens her focus and keeps her grounded in ways that constant company never could. When she is alone, she has the space to reflect without distraction, to think without interruption, and to feel without judgment. She is not running from people. She is returning to herself because she knows that in solitude she can hear the voice that matters most, her own. She does not need the noise of endless conversations or the validation of constant attention, because she has found that true clarity comes when the world grows quiet and she can finally listen to her own thoughts. Solitude has become her teacher. It has taught her that loneliness and being alone are two very different things. Loneliness is a hunger for connection, while being alone is a freedom to connect with yourself. She has turned her solitude into strength. She uses it to recharge her energy. She uses it to plan her steps, and she uses it to protect her peace. She has discovered that when she is by herself, she is not weak. She is not incomplete. She is whole. She is capable. She is confident in the knowledge that she can stand without leaning on anyone else. She knows that when she can be her own companion, she is never truly abandoned because she has built the kind of inner foundation that cannot be shaken by absence. She does not fear quiet moments because those are the moments where growth happens. She has realized that most people run from silence because silence forces them to face who they really are, but she does not run. She leans into it. She listens to her doubts and turns them into direction. She listens to her pain and turns it into purpose. She listens to her hopes and turns them into goals. She has created a relationship with herself that is so strong it cannot be broken by the lack of friends or company. Her solitude has become the soil where her confidence grows, the shelter where her peace is protected, and the workshop where her vision is built. In her solitude, she has learned to be independent, not just in action, but in spirit. She knows that her happiness cannot depend on who texts her back, who invites her out, or who remembers her birthday. She has taken responsibility for her own joy. She wakes up and chooses it. She goes to bed and protects it. She no longer hands that power to anyone else because she understands that the more she gives away her control, the more she loses herself. Solitude has taught her that happiness built from within cannot be taken away by anyone because it was never borrowed in the first place. It was created by her for her. She sees solitude as a gift, not a punishment, because it has given her the courage to say no, the strength to walk away, and the wisdom to know her worth. It has allowed her to discover who she truly is when no one else is watching. No expectations, no pretending, no performance, just her and the truth of her own reflection. And in that space, she has found that she is more than enough. She does not measure herself by the number of people around her, but by the depth of her own character. She knows that when she can thrive in solitude, she can thrive anywhere because the one person she can never escape is herself, and she has made peace with that truth. A woman with no friends doesn't waste time chasing approval because she has discovered how exhausting it is to constantly try to please everyone else and how empty it feels when that approval fades away. She has learned that living her life to fit into other people's circles means losing sight of her own path, so she has stopped bending and shrinking herself just to belong. She no longer measures her worth by who accepts her or who applauds her. She understands that validation from the outside is temporary. It shifts with moods, it changes with opinions, and it disappears the moment people find someone else to focus on. She refuses to build her life on something that fragile. She has chosen instead to build her confidence from within because confidence born from the inside cannot be stolen or shaken. She knows the cost of living for approval. It forces you to wear masks. It forces you to silence your truth. It forces you to betray your own needs just to be liked, and she has lived that reality long enough to walk away from it. She has tasted the emptiness of applause that feels good for a moment but leaves you hollow when the crowd is gone. She remembers the feeling of being surrounded yet unseen, and she never wants to go back there. So she has chosen honesty over performance. She has chosen truth over image. She has chosen her own voice over the echo of everyone else's expectations. When she stopped chasing approval, she started standing taller. She no longer apologizes for being who she is. She no longer waters down her personality to make others comfortable. She no longer hides her strengths to avoid intimidating those who are insecure. She has realized that people who truly value her will not ask her to be less. They will not demand her silence. They will not require her to sacrifice her authenticity just to earn their presence, so she does not beg for connection. She does not chase friendship. She does not seek to convince anyone of her value. She allows people to come if they are genuine and to leave if they are not, because her life is no longer an audition for acceptance. She has learned that real freedom is found when you no longer fear disapproval, because disapproval will always come from somewhere. No matter what you do, if you are quiet, someone will call you weak. If you are outspoken, someone will call you arrogant. If you are successful, someone will call you lucky. If you struggle, someone will call you lazy. So why waste energy trying to meet a standard that constantly shifts? She has stopped playing that game. She lives by her own standard. Now she sets her own pace. She defines her own success, and she no longer gives strangers the power to dictate how she should feel about herself. Her confidence does not come from the size of her circle, but from the depth of her character. She has built resilience by walking alone. She has built courage by making decisions without waiting for approval. She has built peace by no longer living as a prisoner to people's opinions. And in doing so, she has discovered a strength that many never find because they are too busy chasing validation from others. She has let go of the need to be liked and has replaced it with the desire to be real. And in that choice, she has found herself. Her boundaries are solid because she has walked through enough betrayal to understand that access to her is a privilege, not a right. And she does not hand that privilege out lightly anymore. She remembers what it felt like to trust too easily, to believe words without seeing actions, to hold people close who only held her back, and those lessons cut deep. But they shaped her into someone who no longer ignores red flags. She now knows that love without respect is not love. Loyalty without consistency is not loyalty, and friendship without honesty is not friendship. She has stopped entertaining people who only show up when it is convenient for them. She has stopped excusing behavior that disrespects her. She has stopped giving chance after chance to people who only take without ever giving in return. She does not keep people around just to fill space because she has learned that an empty space is healthier than a toxic presence. She would rather sit at a table alone than sit with people who smile to her face but secretly hope she fails. She has grown strong enough to close doors that no longer lead anywhere, even when closing them hurts. She knows that holding on to what is unhealthy does not protect her. It only delays her healing. She has realized that boundaries are not walls to keep everyone out. They are doors to protect the peace she has built, and only those who know how to value it will be allowed inside. Her boundaries are not harsh. They are healthy. They are not built from hatred. They are built from wisdom. She understands that people will call her cold or distant because she no longer gives unlimited access, but she is fine with those labels because she knows the truth. She knows that people who truly respect her will also respect her limits. She knows that boundaries do not push away the right people. They reveal them. The wrong ones will leave, because boundaries expose who was only there for what they could take, but the right ones will stay because they see her worth and value it. She has no problem letting go anymore because she has accepted that not everyone who starts with you is meant to finish with you. Some people are lessons, some people are blessings, and some people are both. She has let go of the guilt that used to come with walking away because she understands that choosing herself is not selfish, it is necessary. And if someone cannot bring honesty, loyalty, or growth into her life, then she does not hesitate to step back because her time, her energy, and her peace are too valuable to be wasted. She has realized that love without boundaries turns into sacrifice, and she refuses to sacrifice herself for people who would never do the same for her. Every time she sets a boundary, she grows stronger. Every time she says no, she reclaims her power. Every time she chooses to protect her peace, she honors herself, and she knows that anyone who cannot respect that does not deserve to stay. She has turned her pain into protection, her wounds into wisdom, her disappointments into direction, and she has built a life where she no longer fears losing people because she has already found herself. A woman with no friends is not weak. She is not broken. She is not incomplete. She is powerful. She is disciplined. She is resilient because she has chosen quality over quantity. She has chosen depth over shallow connections. She has chosen purpose over distraction. She knows that her value is not defined by how many people she can call on a Friday night, but by the kind of person she is becoming every single day. She has faced moments when the room was empty and her phone was silent. And instead of falling apart, she used that time to build herself. She used that time to grow her mind, strengthen her spirit, and sharpen her vision. She has learned that real strength is built in the quiet, not in the spotlight. It is built when no one is clapping, when no one is watching, when no one is cheering her on, and she has learned to clap for herself. She walks her own path with courage, because she no longer fears being different. She no longer hides her uniqueness just to blend in. She has accepted that walking alone sometimes means walking further. She has accepted that solitude often comes with clarity, and clarity shows her where she is going. She does not need a crowd to confirm her direction. She does not need constant company to prove her worth. She trusts herself. She trusts her journey. She trusts that the right people will meet her where she is meant to go, but until then, she does not stop moving. She continues with determination. She continues with discipline. She continues with resilience because she knows that her path was never meant to be walked by everyone. It was meant to be walked by her. She has chosen quality over quantity, and that choice shapes everything she does. She does not settle for half-hearted effort, half-hearted love, or half-hearted friendships. She does not allow just anyone to hold space in her life because she has realized that empty conversations and surface-level relationships are distractions that take her away from her purpose. She would rather wait for connections that are genuine, even if it takes longer, because she has learned that one loyal heart is worth more than 100 empty hands. One honest voice is worth more than a room full of pretenders. One real bond is worth more than endless acquaintances who vanish the moment life gets hard. She does not chase numbers, she chases meaning. She does not chase attention, she chases truth. Her strength shows in the way she handles the silence she is not afraid of, the nights when she has only herself for company. She is not afraid of the days when she has to face challenges alone, because those are the moments that reveal her resilience. She has built herself into someone who can stand on her own, and because of that, she does not collapse when others leave. She does not crumble when support is scarce. She rises, she endures, she adapts, she continues forward with a quiet fire in her heart. She is proof that solitude can shape a woman into someone unshakable, someone who does not bend under pressure, someone who grows stronger with every storm she faces. When the right people finally arrive in her life, they do not find a desperate woman begging for attention. They find a complete woman ready to share her life. They do not find someone who has been waiting helplessly for saving. They find someone who has already saved herself. They do not find someone fragile and unfinished. They find someone powerful, disciplined, and resilient who has built her identity not on friendships, but on character. And when she lets them in, they will know that they are chosen, not because she needs them, but because she values them. And that is why her presence carries weight and her connections hold meaning.